2020 was a strange year for everyone. The NBA was no exception. Fans were not allowed to watch the game in person, and the players were just getting used to the new environment. Eventually, it was time for the NBA draft, and fans were excited to see what players these teams choose to join their organization. So today I thought that we would look back at the draft, and I would show you who was selected and who I think would be picked if the teams could have had a second chance today. In a bit, we will look at the lottery picks from the draft. Since there were only 14 players to choose from, I decided that I would put the ones that just were not able to crack the top 14 in as honorable mentions so that they could still be recognized in the video. These players include Aaron Nesmith, Jalen Smith, Obi Toppin, Peyton Pritchard, Isaiah Stewart, Sadiq Bey, and Trey Jones. Before we go any further, make sure to like the video and subscribe so that I know that you enjoyed it and want to see more content. Enjoy the rest of the video. The Celtics originally went with Aaron Nesmith, who is a great player but still hasn't shown that he can be an impactful player consistently. So in this redraft, I have them going with Patrick Williams, who has shown that he can be a top player defensively and hopefully will continue to improve on the offensive side of the ball. The Pelicans originally went with Kira Lewis Jr., who hasn't shown much in his 4 seasons in the league. Instead, I went with Josh Green, who was a part of the Mavericks team that just went to the finals. He has been a great option for the Mavs and has been a quality player all around. The Kings originally went with Tyrese Halliburton, but he has been selected already, so I will go with Isaiah Joe, who has been a solid piece of the Thunder's bench and is a great three-point shooter and will add to the offense in Sacramento. And since this was before the Sabonis trade, he may be moved in the future to help bring in a big man to this Kings roster in the future. The Spurs originally drafted Devin Vassell, but since in the redraft he was chosen earlier, I decided to go with Cole Anthony. Cole Anthony has been solid on the Magic, averaging 12, 4, and 8, and is a great asset. The Spurs originally drafted Jalen Smith, but since in the redraft he was already chosen, I decided to go with Denny Avdia. Avdia has been solid in his career so far, with averaging 15 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists a game last year. The Wizards originally drafted Denny Avdia, but I think that if they could have a second try, they would have chosen someone different. So I picked Emmanuel Quickley. Quickley has shown that he can score in many ways, such as threes, mid-range, and around the rim. The Pacers originally went with Obi Toppin, but I think that if they could have redid the pick, they would have chosen a better player and an undeniably better defender in Jaden McDaniels. McDaniels has been a great player for the Timberwolves in his career thus far. The Pistons originally picked Killian Hayes, but he hasn't been the player that they had hoped for, so instead I have them choosing Onyeka Okongwu. Onyeka can immediately become the starting center alongside Blake Griffin and Jeremy Grant. The Pistons originally chose Onyeka Okongwu. It hasn't been the greatest for him in Atlanta, especially with him coming off the bench and being overshadowed by Clint Capella. So I have them instead choosing Devin Vassell, who can be a great wing scorer for them and maybe start in his first season. The Cavaliers originally chose Isaac Okoro. Okoro has been okay in his time with the Cavs, but definitely nowhere compared to Tyrese Maxey. Maxey with Garland in the backcourt would be small but effective. This means that they might not ever trade for Donovan Mitchell. The Bulls originally went with Patrick Williams. Williams has shown that he can be a great player defensively, but the offense is still to be desired. But if they chose Desmond Bane, the offense is way better. Bane has been great with the Grizzlies, so it is no surprise that he's way higher on the draft board. The Hornets originally picked LaMelo Ball, and I have them sticking with their pick. LaMelo has been great as a player and as a leader while on the court, but the only problem is that he can't stay on the court. His health has been tainted with injuries, which has kept him out of action. The Warriors chose James Wiseman the first time around, and that was a big mistake because Wiseman was not the player that they had hoped. So instead, they are choosing Tyrese Halliburton, who has been fantastic on the Pacers as of late. Imagine pairing him up in the backcourt with Curry. The Timberwolves originally chose Anthony Edwards, and that was definitely the right choice because Edwards has become the best player on the team and this past season leading them to the Western Conference Finals. He is not only the face of the team, but also one of the brightest stars in the league today.